Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Yes, the biggest newsmaker about Ukraine is still Donald Trump. We're gonna speak partially about that topic, but not too much because I want to concentrate on what really influences the war in Ukraine. And it is Ukrainian armed forces versus the Russian armed forces. Without any sort of the political speculations, we have to tell about the front lines because it matters the most. And guys, judging on what is happening out there, I wouldn't say that the peace agreement is somewhere close. So let's start from the busting some of the Russian disinformation that was shared yesterday, mostly on the Russian Milblog channels. They basically over-exaggerated their limited success in the Kursk region. So yeah, the Russian forces performed their attack and they've occupied almost entirely the village of Svelitkovo. But they've reported they moved towards Basivka and that the fights weren't going for this village, which is very close to Ukrainian supply line. And it's already a Sumy Oblast of Ukraine, but actually the fights were not happening in Basivka or even close to it. Russians were not even able to cross the Ukrainian border, and it was confirmed by all of the analytics who look through the drone camera videos on internet, and for sure we have multiple of the uploads if anything is happening. Russian or Ukrainian side publishes every time some of the videos, and either side is going on offensive. It is mostly done for the propaganda purposes to boost morale of the own army. But here nothing was done. The information about this Russian advancement is a clear fake. Nevertheless, as you can see near the border with Ukraine, there are some of the fights with mutual losses from Ukrainian and the Russian side. I would say that in general in the Kursk region there is no specific advantage from either of the side, Ukrainian or Russian. There are some of the areas like here and here where Ukraine has an advantage, or there are the areas where Russia sometimes takes the ground. But in general we clearly see that Russia is far to liberate their own territory in Kursk. So all of the statements from Donald Trump saying that Russia is not destroying Ukraine because it doesn't want to do it, and that Russia is so powerful that they may do it at any moment, well, they're just fake. The Russian army is just unable to liberate its own territory. Let's go to the eastern front lines. There both of the sides also have losses. Russia loses their tanks, probably I showed you this tank yesterday, and Russia also tries to move to Ulakli. Actually, Ukraine, as you can see, withdraw from this pocket almost completely. Just a tiny little part in Constantinople is still left under Ukrainian control. There is the crossroad, but Russians are trying to expand their bridgehead in Andriivka as well as towards Constantinople from Ulakli. Ulakli, unfortunately, is fully occupied. But in general, the defense of Ukraine in the pocket of Dachne was organized properly. Whoever is in charge of this defense operation is a smart guy or smart commander. Because yes, there was the order to withdraw Ukrainian forces, but it was done little by little. So Russians were moving towards new Ukrainian positions, and every time they've been attacked by Ukrainian drones, and still they're under attack. It was done to avoid direct fight between infantry of Russia and Ukraine. Russians complain that they don't even see Ukrainian soldiers. It is a war of the drones, they say, and if you move ahead, obviously you have more losses. And the deep state military map source tells us that this expansion of the gray area not far away from Ulakli is the only place where Russians moved for the last 24 hours. So the pace of the Russian army attack slowed down just dramatically. And in the Russian attempt to get Constantinople, Russia has tremendous losses. They again attack with their convoys, basically the group of the vehicles together with infantry. So we have this geolocation and the images showing lots of the Russian vehicles just kaboomed. At least 5 of those were spotted in the area, mostly tow vehicles, MTLBs, and some of the BMPs. Well, Russia still has BMPs, but it's not enough for them to compensate the losses. Because the storage of the Russian military in the Russian stocks was done not correctly, Russia now has to perform the deep maintenance of their vehicles and only after it send them to the front lines, but the stockpiles are running out of the vehicles as well, because some of the BMPs, tanks, artillery, they cannot be restored even with heavy maintenance. That's how bad and worn and rusty they are. So I would say that maybe Russia is interested in some sort of this ceasefire, but just to reform and rearm their army. If we see a ceasefire in the coming future, like for example this year, and Russia would continue to produce their military like tanks and BMPs, it would be also understandable that Russia is preparing for another big-scale war. Whether it's going to be in Ukraine or elsewhere, it's a big question. And yeah, that is what left from that particular BMP. You can see on this picture. And Russia formed one more big convoy in Pokrovsk. There are some of the MTLBs and, as usual, a tank, a Panzer tank on the front. A convoy was stopped mainly with the help of the Ukrainian FPV drones. As usual, drones do the most of the job on the front line. Guys, the full videos like that are gonna publish as usual on my Telegram channel. And Ukraine also continued to disturb Russian supplies. Russians recently deployed some of the new KAMAZ vehicles, so it was probably a contract with the Russian army and KAMAZ, but Ukrainian artillery simply doesn't care. There are usually some of the Ural trucks and recently many of the KAMAZ. What this hedge is for evacuation? Kind of strange. By the way, my friends, if you want to support the job that I do here on YouTube, you are very welcome to join me on Patreon. I'll put the link for my Patreon page right in the video description below. Thank you so much for your kind support. Alright, our newsmaker as usual is Donald Trump. I think even Putin is shocked about the United States government rhetorics and accusations towards Ukraine. Yesterday, Donald Trump again said that Zelensky and Biden are guilty because of this war. Not Putin, no, Zelensky and Biden. So the Kremlin spokesman Peskov and the other Russian elite, they don't know how to comment those recent news, because before they were against United States of America, but mainly they support rhetorics of Donald Trump, because the rhetorics of Donald Trump is openly pro-Russian. But judging on what is published on the Russian media, I see that Putin is looking for the possible trap from West. And in general, we have good news. Europe will become more independent and will boost its military production. European Union is now in talks for 20 billion euro military aid package for Ukraine. I would say that it might even be enough to defend Ukraine this year. Before there were some talks about 6 billion euros to Ukraine and now 20. So Europe understands that it's better to support Ukraine and not let Russia in. Because judging on rhetorics which is coming from the White House, United States is not interested for Ukraine to win in this war. Moreover, influential leaders like Elon Musk, yes, he is now a great influential leader in the United States, he is Trump's friend, and he has almost absolute power in many of the spheres in the United States life. Well, he says that Ukraine has nothing to fight for. The same stuff we see from the Russian propaganda. They say that there is no Ukraine and Ukrainians fight for nothing. But again, Europe will not let Ukraine down, judging on the signs we see. What Trump did, well, he created just confrontation between United States and Europe now is even concerned sharing a secret information with its ally across the ocean, because allies started to behave kind of strangely. So now allies try to safeguard their intel ops from Trump. They say that a new power in the United States is corrupt and unreliable. That's what Donald Trump says about Ukrainian government, by the way. So we witness a backfire towards Donald Trump because of his harsh rhetorics towards Ukraine. And Trump is also being criticized within United States of America, even within Republican Party, because majority there is still against Russia. Even some part of the MAGA cult supports Ukraine. So there are definitely some of the sane voices within the United States American spectrum, but it seems like Donald Trump doesn't hear those yet. A new United States government, together with Elon Musk, now start to blackmail Ukraine with Starlink, which could be critical for communication of the Ukrainian army. The headlines that Elon may just shut down Starlink for Ukraine start to appear yesterday massively in the press. But after all, Ukraine will have a way out. There are also some of the European alternatives to Starlink. Yeah, they're more expensive, more bulky, and there are less units compared to Starlink, but still there is an alternate. Plus, there is also a way to create so-called Wi-Fi bridges, because Ukraine has its own internet providers and GSM network, basically phone network, but those internet spots could be spotted by enemy sites, so it's quite risky, but still it is like one of those variants. Also, if Elon Musk kicks out Starlink in Ukraine, he also would do it for Russian army. Yeah, Russians use Starlink, and Starlink company couldn't cope with that. Maybe they didn't even try. And maybe for Russians it could be even more critical, because they're in lack of the rest of the alternatives for Starlink. Well, I would say that Starlink is definitely a good tool for Ukraine, but it is also a tool mainly for Elon Musk to blackmail Ukraine. Now they want Ukraine or Zelensky to sign so-called resource agreement with the United States of America to basically sell the country for pennies, so the deal actually was reestablished with the new terms. I wonder if security guarantees are already included. If not, Zelensky shouldn't sign that. So yeah, without Starlink it could be difficult for Ukrainian army, but not catastrophic. The same we say about, in general, the military support of Ukraine from the United States of America. If they cancel it, it would be difficult, but not catastrophic. You probably remember a Russian war criminal Strelkov Girkin, who stays in a Russian prison, not for his war crimes, but because he criticized the Russian army command and Putin personally. Well, he continued to write letters to his wife, and later on his wife posts those on his Telegram channel. So what Girkin says about the peace talks and about the soon end of the war? Well, there will be no quick end of the war, he says. It is not worth writing Ukraine off the table. We were unable to defeat them. They will not make territorial concessions, Strelkov mentioned. So even war criminal Strelkov is more realistic than Donald Trump. He has more brain than Donald Trump, apparently, because he sees the picture from inside. He understands that Russian army is not that mighty any longer. It's a weak army with a poor, bad command, bad supplies, poor communication. And he understands that Ukraine itself is powerful. Ukraine was able to repel Russian forces at the very beginning of the war, almost without any sort of the military support from the Allies. Yeah, there were some of the javelins and lows provided, but it was not enough. Ukraine mainly used its own resources. And only after that, Allies started to help Europe at first, and next United States of America. So Russians are basically unable to conquer Ukraine. It is not possible, physically even. And imperialist and the war criminal Strelkov fully understands that, unlike Trump. One of the most cringiest videos I've seen in my life.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy. Chainsaw!
Chainsaw. Well, it's hard to prove, but I guess from the external factors that Elon Musk is on drugs or something. His behavior is really strange and terrible. This chainsaw present was given to Elon by Javier Milei, Argentinian president, to fight United States bureaucracy, but instead Elon Musk basically destroys the own country. There was the information published yesterday by one of the French sources saying that Donald Trump is going to attend a Russian victory parade on 9th of May and meet with Putin and Xi. But later on, Donald Trump himself debunked this information. He was asked whether he's going to attend the event. He said no. Well, I guess it would be too much even for Donald Trump. Alright, here we see on a video a Russian soldier and mule, or a donkey. This donkey is not stupid. He doesn't want to go. Let's look at it. So Russian soldier tries to pull the donkey, But Donkey says, I'm not as stupid as you to go to the front lines. I wasn't really paid millions of rubles unlike you, so you go, you deliver your supplies. I would stay here. Yeah, definitely Donkey doesn't want to go. Sorry guys today for a short video, I'm recording it already for the 3rd hour. The airplanes are freaking flying around me. The hotel is located between 2 of the parallel runways and it's the morning departure for them and they fly all the time. Also the isolation between the rooms is terrible. And yeah, airplanes, you can hear it, and the windows, they do not help a lot, and the internet also is very slow. It's up to 5 megabits per second, not more, which makes my job really terrible. But luckily next video I'm gonna film from my usual place. So guys, sorry for inconvenience. Please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so you help me a lot, and as usual I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.